It's time for CBJ in 30, presented by Telhio Credit Union. Find us on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music, YouTube, and TuneIn. The easiest thing to do is tell Alexa or Siri to play CBJ in 30. Here's your host, Bob McGilligan.
Tonight, the Blue Jackets return to Nationwide Arena, a place they're going to see a lot of here over the course of the next couple of weeks, and they'll be taking on the defending Stanley Cup champion St. Louis Blues. Welcome to CBJ in 30, presented by Telhio Credit Union. Telhio Credit Union is the place that you need to go to find out more about your money. You think you know everything there is to know about money? Do you think you have everything that you need? Do you have the right checking account? Do you have the right savings account? Are you looking at the right personal loan? Are you looking at the right business loan? Should you join a credit union? All of those are very legitimate questions, and they are all questions that can be answered by going to one place, telhio.org. As you surf around the website, you're going to find the answers to those questions. You're also going to find many other things, a lot more information that will help you make the right decision for you financially, for you, for your family, for your business, whatever it may be. Again, telhio.org. If you can't find the answer you're looking for, you can click on the live chat button, and somebody will help you out right then and there. And if that's not the way you want to do it, if you want to do it the old-fashioned way in person, well, you can stop by any local Telhio Credit Union office. Telhio Credit Union is open to everyone in central and southwestern Ohio. They are federally insured by NCUA. Well, tonight, not only is it going to be a big game for the Blue Jackets taking on the defending Stanley Cup champions, but it's also Hockey Fights Cancer Night at Nationwide Arena. This is an initiative that is done throughout the entire league. Every team has a Hockey Fights Cancer Night during the month of November. It is one of the great things that the National Hockey League has done throughout the course of the last several years. First of all, to come up with this concept, and then to just build upon the concept year in and year out. The Blue Jackets will have Hockey Fights Cancer jerseys that they will wear during warm-ups. Those jerseys will then be auctioned off to raise money. That's just one of the many things that is going on. But the most special thing is going to be the cancer patients that are going to be highlighted and honored at the game tonight. And speaking of patients, yesterday the Blue Jackets made their annual trip to Nationwide Children's Hospital as a team and got to see some of those young patients that are battling cancer and battling other diseases, and got to be there and help them to smile, really, help them to smile. You know, one of the initiatives in the Out of Our Blue, We Rise campaign is It's Why We Fight. And when you go to the hospital for one of those visits, it reminds you why you fight. And I don't mean why you fight with fists during a game. I don't mean why you fight to come back from a 2-goal deficit. I don't mean why you fight to find your way to the top of the crease. I don't mean why you fight through traffic to make a save. That's not what I'm talking about. Sometimes it's about why you fight, period. Why you are who you are, why you do what you do, and the amount of joy that you can bring to people just through that. And I was not on yesterday's hospital visit, but I've been on that visit before, and I've watched those kids, and not just the kids. It's everybody in the entire place. You know, the appreciation of the staff. And don't forget that these hospital staffs, they work long and hard hours with many of these patients that are in there for long periods of time. They get to know these patients. They're very close to them and their families, and they share in the joy of watching these NHL players come in and give back to their community just by being there. And it's a bit of a helpless feeling because you're there, and, you know, I know when I've been there, you kind of feel guilty because, you know, why am I here and I'm fine, I'm healthy, and why does this person have this situation going on, and it just doesn't seem fair. There's a lot of that goes through your mind when you go to one of those visits. And then you look and you listen and you see the lack of fear in the eyes and the personalities, especially of these young people they're just fighting, and they're not going to let go of any part of life. They're going to fight whatever they're battling, whatever disease they have, they're going to battle it, and sometimes they're the ones that put a smile on your face. So for the Blue Jackets, who to this point in the season, it has been up and down, I think yesterday was a good day for them. I think it's a good reminder that, no matter what's going on, no matter if you're winning games, losing games, you should have won the game in Montreal, you should have locked it down with less than 2 minutes to go. At the end of the day, that doesn't matter. And I don't mean that like, of course you want to make the playoffs. Of course you want to be the best that you can. But on a day like the hospital visit day, that goal that you gave up in the final minute in Montreal doesn't matter. The fact that you couldn't score on the power play in overtime doesn't matter. The fact that you didn't get it in the shootout against one of the best goalies in the world, none of it matters. It doesn't, because it is, it's this that matters. It is being there for the people that need you, bringing the smiles to the people that need to smile, and having a smile with the people that are trying to give you a smile back, even though they are in much more dire straits than you are. So really, that's what today is about for me. Of course, I want the Blue Jackets to win this game tonight. There's no question about that. They want to win this game tonight. You want them to win this game tonight. All of those things. But Hockey Fights Cancer is a special night. It's not just about wearing the special jerseys during warm-ups. It's not wearing the special ties and the ribbons on the lapels. It's not just that. It's a reminder. And I think that everybody, I have yet to find a person that hasn't been affected by this deadly disease in some way, shape, or form. Whether you've had it, whether a family member has had it, whether a friend has had it, it's just almost the norm in life. I hate to say that, but everybody knows somebody, right? Or everybody was close to somebody, or is close to somebody, or is going to be close to somebody. Heck, we don't even know. We don't even know what's going to happen in the future. So it's just a really important day, and it's I personally I've got a close association with it because my father had melanoma, and within a span of 6 weeks, he was fine at Christmas. He was gone by late February, and it was a very tough time. And I'm sure that you have a story, or you know of somebody that has a story that's very similar. And I think that on a day like this, and Hockey Fights Cancer Night, I think everybody can come together. Those signs that you stand for whoever, and this and that, and it's all symbolic, but it's all good because it brings awareness. And sometimes I'll be the first one that in some situations I'll say, well, okay, people are aware, but what are people going to do? And I think the one thing about cancer has been, I remember when I was young and I was growing up in the 70s, and first of all, if you heard cancer, it meant the end. It meant that whoever had it, they were going to soon be gone, and that's that. But I think through the awareness of this disease and the money that has been put into it, and the research and the different treatments and even sometimes cures that come out of it, I think this is a really good example of where awareness was the starting point. Making people aware was the starting point, and then getting people to dig in and to spend that money and do that research and come up with new just treatments and all that stuff. I think it all started with awareness. So it's a special night. Again, I'm probably going on way too long about this, but or I don't know if you can go on too long about it. It is a very special night. There'll be some special people in the building tonight that you will meet if you're there. If you're at the game tonight, you're going to meet those people, whether it's really face-to-face or maybe it's through a presentation before the game, whatever it is for you personally. But there'll be some great opportunities for you. So if you hadn't planned on coming and you are going to think about that, rethink that, BlueJackets.com is where you can get your tickets. I know I just made that sound like a sales pitch. I'm not. I'm just saying that it is. It's one of those great nights, and especially before the drop of the puck, especially leading up to to the game itself. I think there's some very, very special things. So if you are coming out, please come early. If you were not going to come out, think about changing your mind and come out early, because I think you will be glad that you did. I really do. All right, let's get to the hockey portion of this. Coming up here in just a couple of minutes, I'm going to talk with former Blue Jackets goaltender Marc Denis. Marc Denis was here at the very beginning of all of this. He got picked up by the Blue Jackets from the Colorado Avalanche in June of 2000, and he stayed in Columbus until June of 2006. So I will talk with Marc Denis about coming back to Columbus, because he works now with Montreal. He covers the Canadiens, and they're going to be here on Tuesday. So that conversation is coming up in just a few minutes. But let's talk about the St. Louis Blues right now. A couple of games ago, the Blue Jackets were in St. Louis. They lost to the Blues in overtime. They lost on a power play. 8 seconds into the overtime is all it took for St. Louis to get that win. So the Blue Jackets are trying to salvage the series and the season split tonight. Those are the words I'm looking for right there. They're trying to salvage the series and the season split against the St. Louis Blues here this evening. St. Louis is a team that they're a little bit banged up right now. Actually, you could say that they're pretty banged up, to be honest with you. They don't have Vladimir Tarasenko. He had a major injury that has him out for a number of weeks. He's going to be out for a long time. And then Alexander Steen has suffered an injury. So they're without a couple of big players, but that doesn't mean that they still don't have big players. Alex Pietrangelo, who is their captain and does the work on the blue line, does the yeoman's work on the blue line. You know, he sets the tone for that team. He's always tough, always finds a way to get the puck to the net. They got a couple of guys back there like that. They picked up Justin Falk from the Carolina Hurricanes before the season. He's very good at getting the puck to the net and getting offense created off the blue line. Colton Parayko is a big guy with a really hard shot that he likes to blast it in from there too. When you talk about the forwards, I mean, David Perron is a guy that has put up the offensive numbers for the St. Louis Blues. You know, just one of a couple of guys that, you know, they've still find ways. They still find ways to win games. They still find ways to score goals, and that's what you would expect from the defending Stanley Cup champions. Now, that doesn't mean that it is, all sunshine and roses for these guys. It's not, because the injuries, they take their toll. There's no question. They take their toll as it goes along, and you know it makes it hard when you lose some of your top players for a couple of weeks at a time. It makes it really hard. But St. Louis has battled through it. But what they've also had to do is they've gone out and they've signed a couple of guys to tryouts, and they're significant guys in the fact that they've had good history in the league in the past, and that's exactly what they were going after. Troy Brouwer and Jamie McGinn both have been signed to professional tryouts by the St. Louis Blues, and Doug Armstrong is their general manager. I read an article a couple of days ago where he was quoted as saying that he was looking for guys that have played over 200 games in the league, because he still feels there's a value to that older player, and they are few and far between in this day and age, and he wanted to get some experience. Now, whether these guys stick around or what happens with them, who knows? It's anybody's guess, but he was looking for experience. He didn't want to call up more young players from the American Hockey League, because he felt that when you get too many young players, then you can get yourself in a spot where you have too many guys trying to learn at one time. So he wanted to go out and get some older guys. So St. Louis is, again, they're trying to figure themselves out. It's always easy to figure yourself out if you have a good goaltender, and there's no question that Jordan Binnington has been that good goaltender. Now, the Blues are playing back-to-back games, so it could be Binnington could wait until the home game on Saturday to play against Anaheim, being a Western Conference game. Could get Jake Allen here tonight for all I know. So we'll wait and see how that works out. But, you know, they are good. They are solid. They are the defending Stanley Cup champs. So the Blue Jackets have to have their A game tonight. And I thought in Montreal the other night they had their A game for good portions of that game. Again, it came back to not being able to score. You get 2 goals in the game. That just doesn't cut it in today's National Hockey League. It is it's a high-powered offensive league, and you got to score 3 or 4 goals if you want to win games, and the Blue Jackets are just struggling. As I said earlier, they didn't even get their second goal until there were under 2 minutes remaining in the third period of that game. So they've got to find more ways to score. The Blue Jackets did have to make a roster move yesterday. Cole Sherwood is going to be out, and he's going to be out for a number of weeks. Reportedly has an oblique strain, which is a terrible injury. It is just a devastating injury, in my opinion, for a hockey player and for a baseball player, because the oblique muscle is in the side, like in the rib cage, and it's when you make a twisting motion that it just prevents you from being able to make that motion. A baseball player swinging a bat, the turning of the midsection and the torso, just impossible. Hockey players shooting the puck, it's the same thing. So Cole Sherwood has come up here. He's had a couple of good games, and now he's going to be on the shelf for the next 4 to 6 weeks, perhaps, with that injury. They did recall Marcus Hannikainen from the Cleveland Monsters, so he will join the team. But Hannikainen, he's a stopgap guy, right? Every time they need somebody, they call him up. Although they brought in Sherwood the last time, that should tell you something what they think of him as opposed to Hannikainen and who can help them out and give them some jump. Although you can say, well, then if they think that Sherwood can do that, why did they healthy scratch him a couple of games? And you would have a very good point. But Eric Robinson also came up. He is the one that got the chance to get into the lineup and play against the Montreal Canadiens the other night. He picked up his first NHL goal, playing on a line with Emil Bemstrom and Riley Nash. I thought that was the most noticeable line of the night, quite frankly. I don't know if they can repeat their performance again, if they can be just as visible tonight against the St. Louis Blues, but I think that would be a big boost for the Blue Jackets if they can do that. You don't want your fourth line to be the most noticeable line. That is the problem right there. But you do need contributions from all 4 lines in today's game, as I talk about all the time. So if they can have another good night, that would be a good thing for the Blue Jackets, in my humble opinion. 7 o'clock game time tonight at Nationwide Arena, by the way, and our pregame coverage will start at 6:30 on the Blue Jackets radio network. So I had the chance to see Marc Denis just a couple of days ago when we were in Montreal. He's a former Blue Jackets goaltender, as many of you know very well, back from the start of this franchise in the year 2000. And every time I see Marc, he's always great, and he's cordial, and he's comes right up to you. How is everything? It's great to see all these things. Just an absolutely great person. So I just talked to him before the game the other night, and it was fine. And then I was thinking about who to interview for this podcast for my weekly guest, and I had a brain cramp because we were on the road. We got home on Wednesday. It was a day off, and I was just struggling with it. And Jean-Luc Grandpierre called me, and I was talking with Jean-Luc, and I said, hey, what do you think? You have any suggestions for me? And he goes, why don't you talk to Marc Denis, because he's going to be in town on Tuesday with the Canadiens, and we're also going to have a little alumni get-together luncheon on Tuesday. So I thought, that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. I can talk about 2 subjects at the same time with a guy that's very familiar and very well liked by Blue Jackets fans, and that's how I wound up getting Marc Denis to join me on today's show. First thing I want to ask you is about coming back to Columbus, which you've had a chance to do on numerous occasions now that you're broadcasting with the Canadiens. And this time when you come back, you're actually doing an alumni event, from what I understand. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty pumped about that. Actually, Jody Shelley extended the invitation a few weeks ago and just mentioned that one of the alumni luncheons that they have, a few of them yearly, I guess, was happening the same day I was in town, and just asked me if I would participate in it, and not only attended, but participate in the Q&A with them. So pretty pumped about that. Pretty pumped to reconnect with some people that were very important throughout my career. Maybe some former teammates, maybe some former players I've been traded against too. So we'll see about that. But definitely looking forward to it. Coming back to Columbus is special. It's not a secret. Columbus is the team that I kind of connect my career with. Although I do work with the Montreal Canadiens broadcast here in French on on RDS. It's I'm a former Columbus Blue Jacket, and I'll always be.
The alumni thing is really taken off with Jody heading it up and being that lead guy. And, you played with Jody Shelley,
Yep.
obviously. How do you find Jody Shelley as the alumni ambassador off the ice compared to the scrappy fighter that was playing in front of you when you were here?
Loved him when he was playing in front of me, and I love him as an alumni ambassador. I guess he's obviously become a great leader. He always was. We had some great tilts back in juniors when he was in Halifax and I was in Chicoutimi. We have the same age, so we can relate and go back to that. But we obviously had a tough upbringing at the pro level, and he certainly earned his way up to being a steady figure on the Blue Jackets and eventually a great NHL career. As far as what he's doing with the alumni now is tremendous. He is still a great leader off the ice. He's obviously a very passionate individual, which is really important. He's involved in the community. He's obviously present, which is great and important. He's there. He's Columbus own now, and it's great. And everything he's been doing has been right on point. So he's the perfect man for the job. And yeah, you're right. It has taken off, and that's good because the history. You can't go that far back, I guess, but yet. That link is still very strong between the players that have played in Columbus. I guess you have to play there to understand it, but that link is really strong between the players that have played in Columbus and the alumni now.
I'm talking with Marc Denis, former Blue Jackets goaltender, now works for RDS, broadcasting for the Montreal Canadiens. And when you talk about that upbringing here with Columbus, you started your career in the Colorado Avalanche organization. The Blue Jackets traded to get you in the year 2000, and so you were here right from the very beginning. And, Ron Tugnut is a guy that people remember here, but you're the guy that did a lot of the work between the pipes. I mean, heck, there was one year you played in 77 of 82 games, for crying out loud. Do you remember when you got dealt to Columbus and what your feelings were at that time to go to a new franchise that you didn't, in a city that you really didn't know anything about?
I didn't know much about Columbus, obviously. We've heard about the great ownership group that was put together for an expansion that included Minnesota as well. So I was excited. This was the first time in my career being traded. Never been traded in junior hockey. I was a draft pick in '95 of Colorado, so spent 5 years in that organization. I was pumped. I mean, I learned in Colorado how to win hockey games and how to be around great ones like Ray Bourque and Joe Sakic and Peter Forsberg and Patrick Roy, obviously. So I thought I learned the trade enough to 23 years old to be traded to an up-and-coming team, an expansion team. That trade a couple of days or maybe a week before the expansion draft was somewhat exciting, and I thought this was a chance for me to learn how to become a number one goalie now, which I really wanted to do, which I had been my whole life up until the NHL level. So yeah, it was very exciting for me, an exciting time in my career. I thought we were able to lay the groundwork for what has become a steady figure at the NHL level now, a very solid franchise and organization. So that was a lot of fun. And then, touching on Tugger and Ron Tugnut, what he was able to do in the first year, in our first season, was tremendous. But it was also a great competition because I wanted to push him, and I understood that he got the number one job that first year. But this was a job that I wanted to have in the near future, and I was able to, I'm not going to say to take it from him, but just to take on that role that he showed me how to be a professional as well. And I was able to do that for 4+ seasons in Columbus. And as you mentioned, some very busy seasons. 66, 77 starts. Not too many nights off, but at that time I remember, and still up to this day, I wouldn't have wanted it any other way.
Did you appreciate playing for a new franchise then, or is that something that over the years, and once you look back on it, you can really appreciate the work that you and all of your teammates back in those early years did, as you said, to lay the foundation for what it is now?
Well, when you're in it, you want to win hockey games is what you've been brought up to do. So it's hard to put everything into perspective when you're a 25-year-old trying to gain respect throughout the NHL, because that's what you're out to get, right? When you're in a new team and you're trying to make it to the playoffs, which unfortunately we weren't able to in the 6 years I was part of the Columbus organization. But we came close, we made a run, and it was fun to be a part of. But at the same time, you're not really thinking about what you're going to leave behind. Yeah, you want to win here and now, and you want to learn, and you want to be on a fast track to learning. So. It's hard to put into perspective. I think you need to take a step back to realize and to appreciate what, a lot of these players. You talked about Ron Tugnut. We can go on and on with, the Luke Richardson, who I actually see who was a team captain, and Ray Whitney and Lyle Odeline and Tyler Wrights of this world, who've been part of the organization, were part of the organization for a while, and to see Rick Nash now around the organization. So all of that makes me really proud of the years we as a family spent there, and we as a team with my teammates were able to build for Columbus, a city I appreciate and respect so much.
Was June 30th on 2006 a sad day for you, the day that you learned that you were being traded from the Blue Jackets to Tampa Bay?
It was a bit of a shell shock. I remember I was at an event signing autographs for a kids foundation I had set up up north in Chicoutimi. It was during the off season. I remember getting the phone call from Doug MacLean. Mixed emotions. It was a sad day because we had, through the course of 6 years, built some relationships on the team, away from the rink, and the community as well, that were really dear to our hearts. Both of our sons were born there. Thomas and Olivier still, will forever call Columbus their birthplace. So lots of friendships we were leaving behind. At the same time, I thought there was an opportunity for me there in Tampa that was really looking for a number one goalie to maybe change my luck around and be on a winning team. That happened for only a little part and a little bit of my career until things kind of turned sour for me not stopping enough pucks. But all in all, it's the emotions of being traded away from Colorado. Kind of knew was coming because Patrick was there and was going to be there for a while, and you knew with expansion teams coming in, changes were about to happen. I just didn't know that that was in the books or that was in the works in Tampa. Although Jay Feaster, a great man who's the GM there in Tampa, and who we had won a Calder Cup together in Hershey a few years before, was a great man and really welcomed me with open arms in Tampa.
Talking with Marc Denis, former Blue Jackets goaltender, works for RDS covering the Canadiens. I've got to ask you, as a former goalie, what is it like for you to watch Carey Price play night in and night out? Because I know for me it's frustrating to watch him play, Mark. We just saw it over at the Bell Center a couple of nights ago. It's really frustrating because especially if you're struggling to score goals as a team and then you're facing Carey Price, good luck to you. But what's it like for you to watch this guy every day?
It's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive to see him on a daily basis. He's one of the best, if not the best, in the NHL. His technical ability and athletic prowesses are obviously tremendous, but the way he's also able to be Iceman between the pipes and not being phased by anything or anyone or anything that happens around him is pretty impressive. I got a chance at the tail end of my career and the start of his to share the ice and share the crease a little bit with him in practices and to be part of the Montreal Canadiens. And as I said in my very last season, he's a very talented athlete, but he's become a well-rounded goaltender, a well-rounded number one goaltender. And everything that he's done on the international stages and what he wants to get accomplished, basically the only thing that's missing for him being Stanley Cup now is pretty amazing. So, he'll get criticized here because this is a hot stove for being a goalie at the NHL level. Being number one goalie for the Montreal Canadiens is not an easy task, but I think he's got the perfect character and persona to be able to do it and to thrive doing it. And as you said, I'm sure he gets to be a little intimidating and frustrating for other teams to watch him play on some nights when he's on his game.
Yeah, and that's the last thing I wanted to ask you is just one more thing about that, the pressure cooker that is being a member of the Montreal Canadiens, and especially as a goaltender. You're right, the focus is there, but that is not an easy place to play. I guess it's easy when things are going well, but if they're not going well, it can get tough in a hurry, can't it?
It can. Well, just to take the example of the job you have to do, being the play-by-play call for Columbus on radio, well, you'll have one French play-by-play and one English play-by-play follow the team everywhere. You will have one color analyst in French and in English following the team, and that's just for radio. You'll also have myself be a color analyst on French TV and our play-by-play call to follow the team around, and you'll also have the same thing in English for television, and that's only the broadcast teams. Then you'll have that magnified, obviously, when it comes to the beat writers, because every single paper in the city will have people there. Every sports outlet and even every general TV stations will also have their people following the team around. You add to that the fact that hockey's a passion, close to being a religion in Montreal, and you attach to that the fact that it's the most storied franchise in the NHL. So basically, not an easy place to play, but at the same time, I guess it makes my life that much fun because I can communicate our passion to, yes, believe it or not, on most nights, close to 1 million people watching the Montreal Canadiens on French TV. So, I guess it makes my job that much more fun, and to be able to communicate our passion for this game and to try to bring it to people that are watching at home makes it pretty special. So, it is a special city. I was born and raised here before moving up to Chicoutimi for my junior years, and then eventually down to Columbus. But being away from it for 12 years as well, living in the U.S., I guess it makes me appreciate how special of a market it is. So, yeah, you're right. It is the hot stove of hockey in the NHL.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for taking time with me. I always appreciate talking to you. Obviously well-spoken, and obviously a guy that holds a really special place in the history of the franchise of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Hope you enjoy your time with your former teammates coming up on Tuesday, and enjoy the game between Montreal and the Blue Jackets on Tuesday. And I look forward to talking to you when you get to town. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to coming up to Columbus.
That is former Blue Jackets goaltender and now broadcaster for RDS in Montreal, doing the French broadcast for the Canadiens. Marc Denis right there. He was getting on a plane to head out on this road trip, and there was, obviously a kind of what was a good atmosphere on that plane. You could hear at the very end. So Montreal will be here on Tuesday, and the Blue Jackets will be trying to avenge that shootout loss that they suffered this past Tuesday at the Bell Center. So I would like to thank Jean-Luc Grandpierre for the suggestion on getting Marc Denis. Jean-Luc's going to get a big role tonight, by the way. Jody Shelley is missing tonight's game between the Blue Jackets and the St. Louis Blues. Jody is in Nova Scotia, where he is being inducted to the Nova Scotia Hall of Fame. So I would like to congratulate my good friend and broadcast partner, Jody Shelley, on that accomplishment. I don't know if he ever thought when he started playing hockey that he might be inducted into a Hall of Fame someday, but it is happening for him this weekend. So congratulations to him. Look forward to his return on Tuesday. Jean-Luc Grandpierre is going to come off the pregame set for Fox Sports Ohio, and he's going to do color during the game with Jeff Rimmer tonight. And Jean-Luc and I are doing the rink report today, and I think that's it. I don't think he can do postgame with me. He has to do his regular postgame job. But, it's been great to have Jean-Luc around the building, and I'm really happy to see him get an expanded opportunity, even if it is just one night only, because certainly he does deserve it. Blue Jackets in the St. Louis Blues tonight, again, 7 o'clock at Nationwide Arena. The gates will open at 6 o'clock tonight. Hockey Fights Cancer Night. There are plenty of things going on pregame before. Get into your seat early. Just get into your seats early and sit back and enjoy the show. And then when the puck drops, the Blue Jackets will be all business against the St. Louis Blues tonight. Our pregame coverage on the Blue Jackets Radio Network will begin at 6:30 tonight. Dylan Tyre will kick it off for you on the flagship station of the Blue Jackets Radio Network, 97.1 The Fan, and along the network throughout Ohio and parts of West Virginia. So that's going to wrap up today's edition of CBJ in 30, presented by Ohio Credit Union. Tonight, the Blue Jackets and St. Louis Blues get together at Nationwide Arena. And until then, I'm Bob McElligott saying so long.